Hi, everyone. I want to welcome all of you to the first video of our channel. And I want to give you a little overview on the purpose of our channel and what we intend to accomplish as we post our videos from week to week. So first, my name is Greg Hartman, and our channel is designed to support people dealing with Alzheimer's disease in their families and their communities. So I think it's important that I start out with my story. My dad just passed away February 24th, 2020 of Alzheimer's disease. And I spent the last 16 months of his life as his full-time caregiver. Now, the beautiful thing was I had hospice support, and as we do videos, I'll talk more about that and what a beautiful group of people the hospice people are and the difference they made in supporting me in the care of my dad. And I'll share a lot about the challenges you deal with and, you know, what I had to do to care for my dad, but a little of his story. You know, Alzheimer's is a strange disease and it can progress in all sorts of ways. I have friends my age, I'm in my late 50s, whose parents came down with it, and in a matter of months, they were deceased. I've had, you know, kind of the typical progression where maybe a year to 2 years, and then they finally passed away. My dad, on the other hand, progressed tremendously slow. It was over a 10-year period. And my mom died in 2006, and the kind of onset of my dad's disease started about 2008. And at that time, he had a girlfriend, a partner, if you will. Her name was Betty Lou, who was for most of the last, what would that be, 12 years, his primary caretaker. And my role through that period was, you know, Betty Lou had a family of her own, children, grandchildren. So when she would have to go do family things, trips, go visit her grandkids or whatever, I was the secondary caregiver to my dad. And early on in his progression, back around 2007, 8, 9, he was still functional. His memory was gone. Back then, he still remembered who I was, but mostly, you know, we had to have him stop driving because not that he couldn't drive, but he would get somewhere and then not know how to get home. So that was the very early stages of his disease. And, you know, at some time I'll tell you a story that happened before that where I started to notice his memory going. But for now, I just want to give you an overview of Dad and his condition. And, you know, that went that way for me being the secondary caregiver for roughly, 2008, about 10 years. And then towards the end of 2018, my dad got out of bed and tripped and fell and hurt his hip and had to go into the hospital. And, you know, as so often happens with the aging, he was 88 when he passed. So at that time, he was 87. You know, a fall like that can be the beginning of the end. And so I came home and Dad was in the hospital. And then when he came out, he was not mobile. He was in a hospital bed, and Betty Lou and I cared for him together for a couple of months. And she began to realize, because it involved lifting him in and out of bed into a wheelchair. He was now in a catheter and diapers, so it involved changing diapers and a catheter. And she said to me, you know, Greg, this is just too much for me. I'm passing the baton to you. And all that time she had kept her own house, even though she lived with my dad. So she said, you know, eventually you can move in here. I'm going to move back to my house and we'll kind of switch roles. If you have something you want to go do, I can come be the secondary caregiver as long as I have additional support from hospice or whoever. So that's the period I really want to share with as we do videos. The last 16 months I cared for my dad, which began in December of 2018 until he passed. I actually started in October, but I moved into his house and became his full-time caregiver over the Christmas holidays of 2018, December of 2018, up until him passing in February of this year. And, you know, the intention of the channel is it's a very trying and tough disease to deal with, both the physical demands, the emotional demands, second guessing yourself and all of that. So it's really my intention that this channel becomes a resource for people so they can, you know, really help themselves and other people work through this stuff. And then you notice as I've been talking, there's a guy here in a pink shirt. His name is Sid. I'm going to introduce Sid in just a minute. But one of the things, and you know, if I go back, Sid and I have been good friends. We've been business associates, I think around 25 or 30 years. So Sid and I have been friends a long time. And even though we're about the same age, I don't claim to be an internet expert at all, and definitely not a YouTube expert. Sid, on the other hand, has his own YouTube channel. And about 18 months ago, just as I had moved home, you know, Sid checked in with me and I told him what was going on with Dad. And he said, you know, Greg, if you can, from time to time, take videos of your dad, take pictures, whatever, because I'm doing a YouTube channel and it's completely unrelated to this, but Sid said, Alzheimer's is such a big thing. I really think you could touch and make a difference with an audience that really needs to understand the process. So why don't you begin documenting what you've been doing? And I did. And then, you know, when Dad passed, Sid and I talked a little further because it's only been a couple months ago. And here we are doing our first video. So Sid, I'm going to turn it over to you and, you know, say a few words, introduce yourself to our audience, and we'll keep rolling.
Yes, Greg, thanks so much. Yeah, Greg and I met about 30 years ago from a business. We're both living in Atlanta, and I was fortunate enough to meet your dad and mom, and just what a great father you had. And I give you kudos because I know when speaking, and you would share with me what you had to do to treat your and assist your dad. And may he rest in peace. And so I was really honored to get to meet your dad. And then we were talking after your dad had passed away, and I said, all right, well, we were talking about, you know, what do you do in the videos? And then the light bulb went off. And then as Greg and you and I spoke, we said, let's start a channel, which was really what you thought. And I said, great. And we could really focus in on this. And I remember watching another video as a father and his son, they were in a car, I think they're overseas, and they were listening to a song, and the father, who was dealing with Alzheimer's, started singing. And it was just, you know, I don't know if you ever saw that video, and I can't remember the song, but it was fantastic. And so that's what we really want to focus on. And I'm so excited to work with you, Greg. You have tremendous amount of experience on a professional way. And I think there's going to be so much value add that we can really help millions of people across this planet that are dealing with this challenge.
Yes, great. And, you know, buddy, I'm so happy to be doing this in partnership with you. One of the things, just a little of my background, I'm an entrepreneur, so I have a couple of businesses. One happens to be a consulting company where we do culture work and leadership work in organizations. And one of our key tenets is partnership. You know, there are a lot of lone rangers in life. There are a lot of productive people. I've got nothing against that. I've operated many years of my life that way. You know, give it to me, I'll get it done. But I've really come to appreciate partnership. And that's what I love about Sid. I don't need to be a YouTube expert. I got one right here. His name is Sid Sheck, okay? So I can do my thing and get the information I want to get out about Alzheimer's out to people, and then all of the video editing and posting and all that stuff that, one, I know nothing about or very little, and two, I don't really want to take the time to learn it. But that's the beauty of Sid and my partnership, right? And, you know, this is related to what we're going to talk about, because I could not have cared for my dad without the partnership of others. My sister helped out, my brother helped out, Betty Lou helped out, and of course, the people at hospice were literally irreplaceable. And I'll talk about Dad's caregiver, Ada, as we go, and the beautiful woman she was, and the partnership and friendship we formed over the 16 months of caring for Dad. But Sid, you know, I wanted to kind of keep tonight fairly short and talk a
Yeah.
little bit about, the channel and what our goals and intentions are.
Yeah, so we were just spending a couple of nights discussing about the channel and wanted to share more about what you see happening on the channel, types of things that we could share that would really be helpful to those visiting our channel.
Yeah, well, Sid, why don't we do it this way? I'll share a little bit about kind of the topics I see. And of course, as people make comments and whatever, we're welcome to take suggestions and get information. And then you can share a little bit about the logistics of the channel, like how you'll post and what, all the stuff you YouTube dudes do. Okay. So a little bit about what I see happening on the channel, and I want to go back and circle to the beginning. It really is first and foremost to be a resource to support people as they deal with dementia in their own families, with their friends and their communities, that they can come here and they can watch videos and get information that will empower them in the care of those people. And look, sometimes it's literally what to do with that person, but then there's other times that it's that emotional support you need, or you need somebody that's been down that road that can understand what you're dealing with, rather than just some pat on the back and somebody telling you everything will be good. That usually doesn't make a difference. But when you actually have somebody, and look, I know the difference it made for my dad, and those of you that are generous enough and gracious enough to take this on with a loved one, I want to be here to support you, and I'll answer all the comments and, do my best to really empower you in the care of your loved ones. And then I think from time to time, I'll bring in experts, be it the hospice people or doctors or guests, just so I can keep bringing good information to the forefront for people as their journey dealing with Alzheimer's progresses. So, that's about it for me, Sid. Why don't you tell people a little bit about the logistics and, what we're going to do on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis?
Yeah, so I see us having discussions as we think of different ideas through the weeks. In addition, I know that you're going to be very active on some content that you're just going to share yourself. We're going to upload that. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channel. And then also be sure to click on that bell icon, because when you click on that bell icon, it will notify you when we put a new video out there, and then you could share it. So we welcome you to be part of the family. And we're really excited about doing some other exciting things as well on podcasting at some point. So, but definitely our channel is going to be really exciting and very beneficial to people on so many levels.
Awesome, Sid. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up. I think this has been a first great, launch kickoff video. And what I thought I'd do is leave people with something really valuable that I learned in this journey of mine. And it's a distinction about Alzheimer's disease, and it's probably one of the most misunderstood distinctions. So you'll hear people all the time use the terms Alzheimer's or dementia, and they use them interchangeably. And most people don't know, like, what is the difference between dementia or Alzheimer's disease, okay? And somebody explained it to me, one of the hospice people, and when I heard this analogy, it just became so clear to me. And they said, Greg, you know about cancer, right? And I happen to know about cancer. My mom died of lung cancer. She had breast cancer first and then lung cancer. And so this person said, well, great. Consider cancer is the whole field of cancers. Like, there's a lot of different types of cancers, but cancer is the whole field. So dementia is the whole field of these brain-related, memory-related aging problems we have. That whole world is called dementia. And just like the whole world of cancer, there's specific types of cancer. So there's lung cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, right? There's all these different types of cancers. Well, there's all these different types of dementia. And one of the types of dementia that's very prevalent right now is called Alzheimer's disease. And mostly Alzheimer's disease, even though there are a lot of symptoms, what medical professionals will tell you, they actually can't definitively say it was Alzheimer's until the person is deceased and they do a brain autopsy, because then they can actually see what was happening in the brain, and Alzheimer's does particular damage to certain parts of the brain. So the world of it's dementia, and then there are many forms of dementia, one of those forms being Alzheimer's disease. So I hope that clears that up for people and makes a difference as we start our channel. And Sid, I'll send it back to you to take us out.
Well, Greg, you know, one thing I know for sure, I'm going to learn a lot from you, and learned just here a little bit just as you're sharing today. We're looking forward to sharing some great content with you. And Greg, I am really looking forward to getting this going and helping so many people with this challenge in their life.
Great. Sid, thanks. And everybody that's watching, thank you. And, you know, I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this first video and coming along on our journey. Take care.